3,000 years ago, a group of Jewish sages uncovered a revelation that would transform humanity's understanding of reality and consciousness. Their discovery was hidden in the depths of sacred texts, obscured in symbolic language, and encoded so subtly that only the most dedicated seekers could perceive its significance. This was not merely a mystical interpretation of Scripture, but a comprehensive map of reality itself, a detailed diagram showing how divine consciousness manifests in the material world. The sages called it the yetzirah, or the tree of life, a diagram of extraordinary depth and precision. This knowledge was not intended for casual study or superficial curiosity. It was a powerful spiritual technology capable of guiding those who understood it to navigate life, consciousness, and the universe itself with profound clarity. The wisdom embedded within the tree of life remained hidden for centuries, passed down orally from master to apprentice, safeguarded by those who understood its immense transformative potential. The secrecy was deliberate. The diagram is not a mere philosophical or abstract concept. It is a system that, when comprehended and applied, enables individuals to perceive the subtle structures of reality, align themselves with these structures, and consciously influence both their internal state and the external world. Have you ever wondered why some people seem naturally attuned to deep insights about life, while others remain lost in trivialities and repetitive patterns? Why some individuals effortlessly manifest meaningful changes in their lives, while others feel trapped in cycles of limitation? The answer lies in the understanding of the hidden framework that governs all creation, the Kabbalistic tree of life. This structure is not just a symbolic illustration or an intellectual abstraction. It is an operational map that illuminates the dynamics of consciousness, revealing the principles by which the infinite expresses itself in form. In our modern age, many perceive reality as chaotic, driven by randomness and circumstance. Yet, the Kabbalists understood that beneath the apparent disorder exists an elegant, coherent pattern. Recognizing this pattern allows one to engage with life in a conscious, deliberate manner rather than being swept along by reactive tendencies or external circumstances. To grasp the full significance of the tree of life, we must first understand the origins of the Kabbalah itself. Contrary to popular belief, the Kabbalah did not emerge as a collection of abstract mystical notions or esoteric beliefs. It originated as a disciplined investigation into the nature of reality, grounded in direct observation of consciousness and existence. The earliest Kabbalists were simultaneously mystics and mathematicians, blending spiritual insight with analytical precision. They perceived that the vast diversity of phenomena in the physical world was not arbitrary, but emerged from an underlying order that repeated across every scale of existence. Through intensive contemplation and disciplined spiritual practices, they discovered that human consciousness itself is capable of perceiving multiple layers of reality. It was within these insights that the seeds of the tree of life took root. The Book of Creation, possibly composed in the 6th century, provides an early record of these observations. It introduced the revolutionary idea that reality is constructed not from physical matter alone, but from fundamental elements of consciousness itself. The Kabbalists discovered 10 essential emanations through which the infinite source expresses itself within the world of form. These 10 emanations, known as Sephirot, are not abstract symbols but represent concrete states of consciousness, each with unique qualities and functions. The Sephirot range from the initial creative impulse to the final material manifestation, forming a structured sequence that maps the progressive differentiation of consciousness from unity into multiplicity. This was a radical conceptual breakthrough. Creation, the Kabbalists understood, unfolds not randomly, but through a logical, ordered sequence, a chain of causation that links the highest, most subtle dimensions of consciousness to the tangible world we experience with our senses. The Tree of Life captures this sequence in a diagram of unparalleled sophistication. It is not merely a visual aid, but a precise operational tool. Each Sephirot exists within a network of relationships, influencing and shaping the others in a dynamic interplay. Moreover, the Kabbalists realize that this structure is universal, governing not only cosmic phenomena, but also the human psyche, social structures, and natural processes. The correspondence between macrocosm and microcosm is not metaphorical, it is a functional principle, demonstrating that the same underlying pattern operates consistently across all levels of existence. Understanding this pattern allows individuals to engage with reality at its root, perceiving events and experiences not as random occurrences, but as expressions of a deeper order. The Zohar, one of the central texts of Kabbalah, provides detailed accounts of direct experiences of this structure. Far from being theoretical speculations, these writings describe actual penetrations into the mechanisms of creation, experiences in which consciousness interacts directly with the energies and dynamics that shape reality. Though encoded in symbolic language to prevent superficial misinterpretation, the Zohar contains precise maps of consciousness, guiding practitioners in navigating the subtle levels of existence. The transformative potential of this knowledge explains why it remained concealed for so long. Once fully grasped, the understanding of the Tree of Life irreversibly changes one's perception of reality, revealing hidden patterns, subtle forces, and the immense responsibility inherent in participating in the ongoing creation of existence. The Tree of Life is composed of 10 Sephirot, arranged in a specific configuration connected by 22 paths corresponding to the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. This is not a random organization. Every position reflects a function in the unfolding of consciousness, from the initial spark of divine inspiration to the tangible manifestation in the physical world. At its apex is Keter, the crown, the point at which infinite consciousness begins to differentiate and enter the process of creation. Keter embodies the primordial creative impulse, the moment of spontaneous inspiration, the initial movement from pure potential into experiential reality. Below Keter, the tree splits into 3 pillars. On the right, the pillar of mercy, representing expansion and creative abundance. On the left, the pillar of severity, embodying structure, discipline, and containment. And in the center, the pillar of balance, harmonizing the opposing forces into equilibrium. The upper triad of the tree consists of Chokmas, wisdom, the dynamic creative energy that initiates existence, and Binas, understanding, the receptive principle that gives form and structure to that energy. Chokma is the active initiating force, while Binas shapes and channels it into coherent manifestation. But between these spheres lies the abyss, a transitional zone representing the passage from higher archetypal realities into the denser worlds of form. It is a threshold that must be crossed for consciousness to manifest fully, a space where potential is transformed into structured reality. Below the abyss lies the second triad, yetzirah, the mercy, yetzirah, strength, and Sephirot, beauty, corresponding to the emotional and relational dimensions of experience. Yetzirah represents generous, unconditional love, while yetzirah provides necessary boundaries and discipline. Sephirot integrates these forces into harmony, serving as the heart that balances expansion with structure, love with discernment. Below the emotional triad of Chaste, Kabbalah, and Sephirot lies the third triad, consisting of Netzach, victory, Hod's glory, and Yesod, foundation. These spheres correspond to the realm of mind, communication, and the subtle mechanisms that shape human perception and action. Netzach represents instinctive vitality and the drive to persevere, the energy that propels creative endeavors forward even in the face of difficulty. It is the principle of enduring life force and spontaneous expression, the impulse that drives us to act in alignment with our higher purposes. Hod, by contrast, provides the structuring intellect, the capacity to organize experiences into coherent patterns and communicate insights effectively. While Netzach is dynamic and forward-moving, Hod stabilizes and channels energy, allowing ideas, feelings, and inspirations to be translated into tangible understanding. Together, Netzach and Hod create a harmonious flow between intuitive drive and rational comprehension, ensuring that action is both inspired and purposeful. Yesod, the third sphere of this triad, functions as the foundation that consolidates and integrates all preceding energies. It is the interface between higher levels of consciousness and the physical world, the sphere through which creative, emotional, and intellectual energies gather before manifesting in tangible reality. Yesod represents imagination, dreams, intuition, and the psychic structures that shape our perception of experience. It is the energetic field where intentions, patterns, and archetypes converge and form the blueprint for the material plane. By working consciously with Yesod, a practitioner gains the ability to influence the process of manifestation before it crystallizes into physical form, understanding that the quality of thought, emotion, and intention directly shapes the outcome of lived experience. At the base of the tree lies Malkuth, the kingdom representing the physical world and the tangible reality we inhabit. Often misunderstood as the lowest or least important sphere, Malkuth is in fact the culmination of all preceding processes. It is where divine impulses and archetypal energies are fully expressed in matter, where the abstract principles of consciousness are concretely realized. Every action, object, relationship, or circumstance in the physical world can be traced back through the interconnected paths of the tree, demonstrating that Malkuth is not separate from higher spheres, but deeply intertwined with them. Understanding Malkuth as an integral part of the tree enables one to navigate life consciously, recognizing that physical reality is not chaotic, but a structured expression of deeper forces. The tree of life does not exist in a single dimension, but operates across 4 distinct worlds, each representing a different level of density and manifestation. The first of these worlds is atziluth, the world of emanation, the realm of pure archetypes where divine principles exist in their most refined and unfiltered form. In atziluth, the Sephirot are experienced as essential qualities of consciousness, not yet colored by time, space, or form. This is the level of fundamental unity, the root of creation from which all subsequent realities emerge. Atziluth can be likened to the seed or the blueprint from which the cosmos grows, containing the infinite potential that will later differentiate into specific forms and experiences. The energies of atziluth are the purest and most subtle, representing the initial spark of creation before it fragments into multiplicity. The second world, briah, the world of creation, is where the abstract archetypes of atziluth begin to take on more defined characteristics. Here, ideas transform into structured plans, shaping the underlying architecture of reality. Briah is the domain of divine intelligences, often associated with archangels or guiding spiritual forces that organize and structure the principles of creation into coherent systems. It is a space of invisible architecture where the seeds planted in atziluth are nurtured and given form. Concepts begin to particularize, preparing for eventual manifestation in the lower worlds. The transition from atziluth to briah illustrates the process through which the infinite expresses itself as discernible patterns, revealing that the act of creation is not arbitrary but a guided, intentional unfolding of consciousness. The third world, yetzirah, the world of formation, corresponds to emotions, mental images, and psychic energies. In this realm, the archetypes of briah are imbued with affective and imaginative qualities. Yetzirah is the plane where human consciousness interacts most directly with shaping forces, where ideas take on symbolic form, and where emotional energies give life to creative visions. Dreams, intuition, and the subconscious mind operate predominantly in yetzirah, influencing behavior, perception, and relationships. It is the intermediate layer between abstract ideas and tangible reality, providing the imaginative and emotional blueprint that informs how concepts will eventually manifest. Human experience at this level is rich, dynamic, and malleable, offering the practitioner the opportunity to consciously shape the patterns that will emerge in the material world. Finally, assiah, the world of action, represents physical manifestation. It is the plane of matter, time, and sensory experience, where all preceding energies converge to form tangible outcomes. Assiah is not separate from the higher worlds. It is the culmination of the processes initiated in atziluth, structured in briah, and shaped in yetzirah. Understanding assiah as the endpoint of a multidimensional process allows practitioners to engage with the physical world in a conscious and purposeful way. Actions, decisions, and interactions in assiah resonate across the higher worlds, just as energies from above inform events below. The Kabbalists recognize that mastery of reality requires awareness and skillful engagement in all four worlds simultaneously. Relationships, events, and circumstances in life exist across these four worlds concurrently. A relationship, for instance, is not created solely when two people meet physically. It exists in principle in atziluth as the archetype of love, in briah as the particularization of shared values and potential, in yetzirah as the emotional experience of connection, and in assiah as tangible interaction, communication, and cohabitation. Understanding this multidimensional structure transforms perception, revealing that life is an interconnected web of energies, patterns, and influences, and that human consciousness can actively participate in shaping these processes rather than passively experiencing them. The Kabbalists developed specific practices to navigate these worlds. In atziluth, meditation and contemplation on divine principles or sacred names allow direct experience of pure consciousness. In briah, study, intellectual reflection, and symbolic understanding facilitate engagement with the structural principles of creation. In yetzirah, imaginative exercises, visualization, and ritual shape emotional and psychic energies. In assiah, concrete action, ethical behavior, and deliberate participation in worldly affairs bring higher potentials into physical reality. Mastery of the tree of life involves integration across all these dimensions, ensuring that insight is expressed as action and that action is informed by understanding. This multidimensional approach highlights the essential principle of Kabbalah. Knowledge without practice is incomplete, and practice without understanding is blind. Spiritual development is not about escaping the material world, but engaging with it consciously, harmonizing intellectual insight, emotional maturity, creative imagination, and practical action. By navigating the four worlds and understanding the interconnection between Sephirot, practitioners develop the ability to perceive, influence, and participate in the ongoing creation of reality. Each thought, emotion, and action becomes an instrument for shaping life, revealing that human beings are active participants, not passive observers, in the unfolding of the universe. Having explored the structure of the tree of life and the four worlds, the next crucial phase of understanding involves the ascent through the tree, the path of return, where individual consciousness moves from the dense realms of physical experience back toward identification with the infinite source. This ascent is not a flight from reality or a denial of the material world. Rather, It is a conscious process of transformation and integration, a journey that allows the practitioner to operate simultaneously across multiple dimensions of existence. The path begins in Malkuth, the kingdom, where human beings are most fully immersed in the physical world, focused primarily on survival, material needs, and immediate sensory experience. At this stage, identity is largely bound to the body, the environment, and habitual patterns of thought and behavior. The first initiation, then, is to recognize that the physical experience is only one aspect of a far broader, multidimensional reality. This recognition often occurs through spontaneous glimpses of expanded awareness, moments of sudden insight, natural mystical experiences, or profound encounters with beauty and interconnectedness. These experiences reveal that the world of physical objects, events, and interactions is only the surface of a far richer tapestry. As consciousness begins to expand, the transition from Malkuth to Yesod marks the development of awareness of the subtle, energetic, and emotional aspects of existence. Yesod, the foundation, serves as the interface between the inner and outer worlds. Here, the practitioner learns to work consciously with dreams, imagination, symbolic imagery, and intuition. Through disciplined practice, one can observe how energies formed in the higher realms shape physical circumstances, and conversely, how intentional actions influence the flow of energy downward into material reality. Many esoteric traditions emphasize the cultivation of creative imagination, the disciplined use of symbols, and alignment with natural cycles, and while these practices are valuable, Kabbalah situates them within a larger framework. Yes, it is not the ultimate destination but a critical stage in development, a bridge between inner awareness and external manifestation. Progression continues through the second triad of Hod, Netzach, and Sephirot, representing emotional and psychological integration. Hod cultivates clarity and precision in communication, the ability to articulate internal states and understand others with subtlety. Netzach develops perseverance, vitality, and the capacity to act decisively in alignment with higher intentions. Sephirot, positioned at the center of the tree, is the harmonizing sphere where these qualities are integrated into a balanced and compassionate expression. This stage represents the development of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and personal integrity, essential qualities for anyone seeking genuine mastery over life and consciousness. The ascent from Sephirot to the upper triad, Chaste, Geburah, and Dayat, marks a transition from personal development to transpersonal participation in the principles of creation. Chaste embodies unconditional love, generosity, and the ability to act selflessly for the benefit of others and the world at large. Geburah represents discernment, strength, and the courage to confront illusions and remove obstacles both internally and externally. Dot, often referred to as the abyss in esoteric texts, serves as a liminal point where the ego's dominance is dissolved and consciousness begins to recognize its identity as part of the infinite source. This passage is not annihilation of self but expansion, realizing that personal identity is a particular expression of universal consciousness rather than a fixed, isolated entity. Crossing the abyss is a profound transformation, revealing that individual existence is inseparable from the totality of reality. The supernal triad, comprising Binah, Chokmah, and Keter, represents the ultimate stages of spiritual realization. Binah develops deep understanding of the structuring principles of reality, revealing the patterns and laws through which consciousness manifests. Chokmah cultivates active participation in the dynamic forces of creation, the ongoing flow of inspiration, insight, and generative energy. Keter, the crown, is the realization of unity, the recognition that apparent multiplicity is ultimately the expression of a single, infinite source. Yet even at this level, The Kabbalists emphasize that mastery is not linear or permanent. Consciousness continually moves up and down the tree, integrating higher realizations with practical engagement in everyday life. A true master navigates effortlessly between the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual realms, maintaining awareness in Malkuth while simultaneously operating from the insights of Keter. This multi-dimensional flexibility distinguishes practical Kabbalah from purely theoretical or mystical systems. Spiritual maturity is not measured by the frequency of mystical experiences or detachment from the world, but by the ability to function effectively and ethically across all levels of existence. The Kabbalist becomes a living bridge between worlds, an agent of consciousness capable of harmonizing inner wisdom with external action. Life becomes a laboratory for conscious experimentation, where each experience, challenge, and relationship serves as a context for cultivating qualities of the Sephirot. Every situation, no matter how mundane, contains the potential for spiritual growth and conscious engagement with the principles of creation. The path of return also reveals a crucial insight: spiritual development is not about becoming something entirely different from what we already are, but about awakening and expressing latent capacities that exist within every human being. The tree of life is not a distant ideal, it is a map of inherent potential. Each person already contains all 10 Sephirot in embryonic form. The process of spiritual work is thus a process of uncovering, nurturing, and manifesting these inherent qualities. This perspective transforms spiritual practice from a struggle to a joyful exploration, emphasizing discovery, integration, and practical application rather than striving for an external goal. In practical terms, the ascent through the tree of life involves simultaneous engagement with thought, emotion, imagination, and action. Meditative contemplation nurtures awareness of atziluth, the world of pure archetypes. Intellectual study and reflection engage briah, the realm of structural and universal patterns. Imaginative practices, symbolic rituals, and emotional cultivation correspond to yetzirah, while ethical action and active participation in the physical world embody assiah. By working in all 4 worlds simultaneously, practitioners learn to align their internal states with the underlying patterns of existence, influencing outcomes at their source rather than merely reacting to external circumstances. Ultimately, the journey of ascent emphasizes conscious participation in the ongoing creation of reality. Each thought, feeling, and action carries consequences that ripple through multiple layers of existence. Spiritual development is inseparable from ethical responsibility, social engagement, and personal accountability. The Kabbalist understands that mastery is not a state of escape or withdrawal, but a conscious embrace of life in all its dimensions. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to express divine qualities, every challenge an opportunity to cultivate virtues such as compassion, discernment, courage, and wisdom. Life is transformed into a continuous laboratory for experimentation, where the principles of the tree of life and the Sephirot can be actively applied to produce tangible transformation, both internally and externally. The teachings of the tree of life are not abstract theories, but practical tools for engaging with reality at every level. The Kabbalists understood that knowledge alone is insufficient. It must be applied consciously through thought, emotion, imagination, and action. Spiritual insight that remains unexpressed produces no transformation, while action devoid of understanding can lead to imbalance or harm. True mastery requires integration, using awareness to guide behavior, using intention to shape circumstance, and aligning internal states with universal principles. This integration allows a practitioner to operate simultaneously across multiple dimensions of existence, maintaining clarity in the physical world while engaging with subtler layers of reality. Central to this practical engagement are the Hermetic laws, which the Kabbalists recognized as fundamental principles underlying all manifestation. These laws operate through the Sephirot, influencing every level of the tree of life, from atziluth to assiah. Understanding these laws allows a practitioner to influence reality at its source, rather than merely reacting to its external manifestations. The first law, as the principle of mentalism consciousness, is the foundation of all existence. Thoughts are not inert, they generate patterns that ripple through yetzirah and assiah, shaping emotions, intentions, and actions. By cultivating awareness of thought, a practitioner learns to direct energy consciously, creating the conditions for desired outcomes rather than remaining at the mercy of habitual mental patterns. The second principle is correspondence, famously expressed as above, so below, as below, so above. The macrocosm and microcosm are not separate. The same patterns that govern the cosmos operate in the individual psyche, social systems, and natural processes. Understanding correspondence allows one to identify the roots of problems and opportunities, seeing how internal dynamics mirror external circumstances. For example, a conflict in the physical world may originate in unresolved emotional or psychological tensions. By addressing the source rather than the symptom, one acts at the most effective level, creating harmonious outcomes across multiple dimensions. The third Hermetic principle, vibration, emphasizes that everything in existence is in constant motion. Energy, thought, and emotion all vibrate at specific frequencies, interacting to generate patterns of experience. A practitioner who learns to align their internal vibration with higher frequencies can influence the flow of events, drawing experiences that resonate with clarity, purpose, and coherence. This principle underscores the importance of cultivating inner states, as external reality is a reflection of the dominant vibrations present within consciousness. The fourth principle is polarity, the recognition that all forces have complementary and opposing aspects. Chazed and Jabira, mercy and strength, expansion and structure, illustrate this principle within the tree itself. Mastery involves harmonizing opposites, understanding that apparent contradictions are aspects of a unified reality. Emotional states, mental tendencies, and external challenges all contain dual aspects that, when reconciled, provide balance and greater effectiveness in action. Polarity teaches the practitioner to navigate tension creatively, using contrast to generate growth, insight, and mastery. The fifth principle is rhythm, the understanding that all phenomena operate in cycles. Seasons, life stages, relationship, and internal states follow rhythmic patterns that can be anticipated and aligned with. By observing these rhythms and acting in harmony with them, the practitioner enhances the flow of events, minimizing resistance and maximizing impact. Rhythm also emphasizes the importance of patience, recognizing that manifestation is a process unfolding over time, and that persistence, timing, and adaptation are essential to effective engagement with reality. The sixth principle, cause and effect, underscores that every action generates consequences and that nothing occurs by chance. Understanding causal relationships allows the practitioner to act strategically, influencing outcomes consciously rather than reacting blindly. Ethical awareness is essential here, as the consequences of thought, emotion, and action extend across all four worlds. The Kabbalists taught that intentional, conscious participation in causation is a sacred responsibility, linking personal development with universal harmony. The seventh principle is gender, which represents the interplay of creative forces rather than biological distinctions. Every act of creation involves a synthesis of active and receptive energies, whether in thought, emotion, or physical action. Mastery involves recognizing and balancing these forces within oneself, using them consciously to manifest ideas, solve problems, and cultivate relationships. Gender in this sense is a universal principle of creation, a tool for harmonizing complementary energies to bring intentions into form. When applied together, these Hermetic laws provide a comprehensive framework for navigating reality in alignment with the tree of life. They enable practitioners to consciously engage with events at their root, influence outcomes, and cultivate harmony across all dimensions of experience. Each law corresponds to specific dynamics within the Sephirot, guiding practical application. For example, the principle of polarity can be applied in Chesed and Jabura to harmonize generosity with discipline. The principle of rhythm can guide action through the cycles of Netzach and Hod. The principle of cause and effect informs ethical engagement in Malkuth, ensuring that physical actions reflect the wisdom cultivated in higher worlds. This multidimensional approach transforms ordinary life into a laboratory for conscious experimentation. Every interaction, decision, and challenge becomes an opportunity to practice mastery of the Sephirot and the Hermetic laws. Relationships are reframed as contexts for cultivating compassion, discernment, and balance. Work, creativity, and study are transformed into exercises in aligning internal states with universal principles. Even mundane tasks gain significance when approached with awareness, intentionality, and ethical responsibility. The practitioner learns to operate as a conscious co-creator, engaging fully in the physical world while simultaneously influencing subtler dimensions of experience. Kabbalistic practice emphasizes that mastery is not linear. Spiritual realization involves continuous movement up and down the tree, integrating higher insights with practical engagement in everyday life. It is neither an escape from the physical world nor a fixation on mystical experiences. A mature practitioner embodies flexibility, fluidly shifting between contemplation and action, intuition and rational analysis, imagination and ethical responsibility. This capacity for multidimensional functioning represents the essence of spiritual maturity, distinguishing those who truly understand the tree from those who approach it as abstract knowledge or theoretical speculation. The integration of Hermetic principles with the practical framework of the tree of life creates a living system for conscious transformation. Thought becomes a tool for shaping reality, emotion a vehicle for alignment, imagination a bridge to higher archetypes, and action the culmination of conscious engagement. By working simultaneously across all four worlds, atziluth, briah, yetzirah, and assiah, the practitioner cultivates mastery at every level, transforming ordinary life into an ongoing expression of divine principles. The Hermetic laws provide navigational tools, and the tree of life serves as the map, revealing the pathways through which consciousness can move consciously and creatively, shaping experiences, relationships, and material reality in alignment with higher purpose. This synthesis of theory and practice demonstrates that spiritual development is not a passive pursuit, but an active, conscious participation in the unfolding of creation. It emphasizes responsibility, creativity, and alignment, empowering the practitioner to influence both inner and outer realities. Through consistent practice, awareness, and engagement with these principles, one develops the capacity to navigate complex challenges, foster meaningful relationships, and manifest intentions effectively. The path is iterative, experimental, and dynamic, requiring observation, reflection, and adaptation at every stage. In this framework, life itself becomes the laboratory, the tree of life becomes the guide, and the Hermetic laws provide the instruments to consciously co-create reality. The culmination of the Kabbalistic path is the conscious realization of unity, the understanding that all apparent diversity is ultimately a manifestation of a single, infinite source. This realization is not merely intellectual, it is experiential. It is a state in which the boundaries between self and other, inner and outer, human and divine dissolve into a profound awareness of interconnectedness. The practitioner sees that every thought, emotion, action, and circumstance is a thread in the vast web of existence, each intimately connected to every other. This awareness does not diminish individuality, but reveals that the self is a particular expression of universal consciousness, endowed with the responsibility and privilege of consciously participating in creation. The process of attaining this realization involves continuous movement along the tree of life, integrating insights from the highest spheres with practical engagement in the lower ones. In the supernal triad of Keter, Chokmah, and Binah, the practitioner experiences direct participation in the dynamic flow of creation, perceiving the structuring principles of reality and the active energy of divine manifestation. Keter represents the primordial unity from which all diversity emerges, the point at which consciousness recognizes its infinite potential. Chokmah embodies the active creative impulse, while Binah provides the structure and form through which these impulses are made manifest. Mastery of this triad allows the practitioner to operate from a place of profound insight and clarity, perceiving patterns of causality and potential across all dimensions of existence. Descending through the tree, the practitioner integrates these higher realizations into the emotional triad of Chesed, Yetzirah, and Sephirot. Chesed, as unconditional love and expansive generosity, becomes an active principle guiding interactions with others. Yetzirah ensures discernment, discipline, and the courage to confront obstacles, while Sephirot harmonizes these qualities into a compassionate, balanced expression. In practical terms, this stage transforms relationships, work, and community engagement, allowing the practitioner to act with both ethical precision and loving intent. The integration of these qualities produces an individual whose inner life is harmonized, resilient, and dynamically connected to the broader flow of existence. The ascent continues through the lower triad of Netzach, Hod, and Yesod, bringing higher awareness into tangible application. Netzach cultivates perseverance, vitality, and practical creativity, ensuring that vision is translated into effective action. Hod strengthens clarity, precision, and the capacity to communicate complex insights in ways that others can understand. Yesod consolidates these energies, acting as the foundation through which subtle intentions and creative impulses are translated into material outcomes. By consciously working with these spheres, the practitioner aligns imagination, emotion, and intellect with ethical action, transforming everyday life into a medium for expressing higher consciousness. Malkuth, the kingdom, represents the culmination of the ascent, the fully realized, embodied experience of divine presence within the physical world. It is here that abstract principles and subtle energies manifest concretely, demonstrating that spiritual realization is inseparable from engagement in life. The Kabbalists emphasize that true mastery is not withdrawal from the world but conscious, responsible participation within it. Every action, from the simplest gesture to the most complex undertaking, becomes an expression of the harmonized principles of the tree. Life is transformed into a laboratory of conscious creation, where challenges become opportunities for growth, relationships are contexts for understanding divine qualities, and ordinary experiences become occasions for awakening. An essential insight revealed through this process is that spiritual development is not linear or finite. The path of ascent involves continuous movement, descending to apply insights, ascending to receive higher guidance, and integrating all levels of consciousness. This iterative process allows for multidimensional functioning, where the practitioner simultaneously operates with awareness in the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual realms. A mature Kabbalist embodies flexibility and fluidity, capable of engaging with practical responsibilities while maintaining clarity of vision, ethical discernment, and spiritual insight. This dynamic integration is the hallmark of true mastery, allowing one to navigate life with wisdom, creativity, and compassion. The Tree of Life, when fully understood and applied, reveals that every human being already contains the potential for complete realization. Spiritual work is therefore not about becoming something fundamentally different, but about awakening and expressing latent capacities. Each Sephirot represents qualities inherent within all individuals, waiting to be nurtured, developed, and integrated. Through meditation, study, ritual, ethical action, and disciplined practice, the practitioner unfolds these latent abilities, discovering that the highest potential is not external or abstract, but intrinsic to their own consciousness. This perspective transforms spiritual practice into a joyful exploration rather than an arduous quest, emphasizing discovery, alignment, and practical expression. At its highest level, the integration of the Tree of Life, the four worlds, and the Hermetic principles empowers the practitioner to consciously co-create reality. Thoughts, emotions, intentions, and actions are no longer random or reactive. They become deliberate instruments through which divine qualities are expressed in the material world. The Kabbalist becomes both an individual and a participant in the universal flow, capable of influencing the subtle currents of creation while engaging ethically and purposefully in daily life. Life becomes an ongoing laboratory for spiritual experimentation, where each experience provides data, insight, and opportunity for growth. Every challenge, every relationship, and every action becomes a chance to practice mastery, cultivate virtues, and align with the principles that govern the cosmos. Ultimately, the Tree of Life offers a map for realizing the full potential of human consciousness. It guides the practitioner to navigate the subtler realms, understand the operational principles of existence, and harmonize inner awareness with practical action. By integrating insights from higher spheres into emotional, mental, and physical expression, one achieves a state of holistic mastery, embodying wisdom, compassion, and creative power simultaneously. This realization is not static, it is a dynamic, ongoing process, a continuous interplay between higher guidance and worldly engagement. The journey of the Tree of Life teaches that true power and freedom arise from conscious participation in creation, ethical responsibility, and alignment with universal principles. Knowledge becomes wisdom when applied, awareness becomes empowerment when integrated into action, insight becomes transformation when lived. The Kabbalist learns to operate at multiple levels of existence simultaneously, recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and exercising discernment, creativity, and compassion at every turn. Life itself becomes a medium through which divine consciousness expresses its infinite potential. Every decision, thought, and action becomes an opportunity to contribute consciously to the unfolding of reality, transforming ordinary existence into a continuous laboratory of spiritual practice, growth, and realization. This understanding completes the synthesis of the Tree of Life, a map, a technology, and a guide for conscious living. It is a framework for aligning the highest potential of human consciousness with the practical realities of the world, a system that integrates intellect, emotion, imagination, and action. The ultimate purpose is not escape, but full engagement. Not transcendence alone, but the harmonized expression of divine qualities in every sphere of life. Through this approach, the practitioner embodies mastery, participates consciously in the unfolding of creation, and realizes the unity underlying all apparent diversity, transforming both themselves and the world around them into living expressions of infinite consciousness.